It's the 9th of October. It's a great day in Kershaw County. It's a great day in this all-American county. We're now called to order. We have a quorum. Mr. Jones has another matter calling him away, and all other people are accounted and present. With that, I'm going to ask Mr. Tucker to lead us in invocation and pledge. Would you mind to stand, please?
Let us all bow our heads and open our hearts. Lord Father, we, your people, come to you as humbly as we know how, asking for your mercy and your grace. We thank you for all the things that you've done for us, and we thank you for this day that you've given us like no other. Now, Lord Father, we say a special prayer as Hurricane Michael continues to come up the coast, that you protect and guide and bless all the ones that's in its path, Lord Father. Only you can do these things. And we ask that you watch over the citizens here in Kershaw County, continue to give them the strength and the knowledge to protect our citizens and our property to the best of their abilities. Now bless these minds and hearts that are up here on this pew, this Board of Council, and continue to guide us and strengthen us and lead us. Bless the men and women that's abroad, that's protecting for our freedoms and liberties. And Lord Father, as we continue to go throughout our lives, let us ever be grateful and thankful for all the things that you do. We ask these many blessings in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen? Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bless you. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
I have one little quick comment, if you don't mind, before we all go to the agenda, public comments. Mr. Jones had a conflict with his schedule with his family, and so he's actually out of town, and he wanted you to know that and be excused.
Thank you so very much, and we hope to send him our prayers. Speaking of prayers, you were talking about this place being a pew. Did you think this was a sermon you were giving? And with that, we move to public comments. Mr. DeBose, are there any public comments?
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, one person signed up, Larry Graham.
Hey, Larry.
Good evening.
I'm a representative of Santee Watery Mental Health Board. I'm here to give you the updates on things that are going on with the Department of Mental Health and Santee Watery. The Department of Mental Health and Santee Watery received a SAMHSA grant for something called Healthy Transition. The purpose of it is to improve the access for treatment support services for youth and young adult 16 to 25 who have serious emotional problems and serious mental illnesses, and help them transition to a full productive life. Suicide in this country is on the rise, and for whatever reason it's faster in South Carolina. And so the Department of Mental Health also has a SAMHSA grant, and they've got a program called Zero Suicide Initiative. Department of Mental Health, or Santee Watery, is in 9 schools in Kershaw County. On I think a positive note, John McGill, the State Director of Mental Health, and Molly Spearman, the State Superintendent of Education, are working together to find avenues of cooperation as our country works toward earlier detection of mental illness, and that the avenue seems to be through the schools. The last thing is that the Department of Mental Health is paying for 5 transitional housing units in Kershaw County, and they are for people who are coming out of the hospitals, and they're helping them, giving them a place to stay and help them transition from being in a psychiatric hospital life.
Thank you, Larry, and for all you do for that, for our mental health. Okay. Certainly will, Larry. Thank you. Mr. DeBose.
That concludes the sign-up list.
And that concludes public comments. We move now to adoption of agenda. Agenda is on the board. I turn to Mr. Bozard to make an opening comment there on a motion.
Yes, thank you, sir. I need to delete under ordinances number 2. It'll come up at a later time.
So you want to amend the agenda to delete which one now?
Item 2 under ordinances.
Under ordinances, which is for the use of shipping containers. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion there? Perhaps Mr. DeBose will lead us on that.
Yeah, you can delete it for any reason.
Okay.
So you just need to vote on it, deletion.
And the purpose would be to restore it at some future date? Is that the idea?
Yes, sir. It'll come up at next meeting.
At next meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor of that amendment, so signify. We'll vote on the whole agenda in a moment.
Yes.
Very good. It's unanimous. We move to a second motion, which I'm going to make to amend the agenda to add an item as item number 1 under new business. Mr. Darrell Ogburn is asked to give us a briefing on a contractual matter dealing with the Kershaw wing. And I believe it'll be good news. So the motion is to add Mr. Darrell Ogburn as the first item under new business on a contractual matter dealing with the Kershaw wing. Can I have a second for that? We have a second. Any discussion? I think the discussion should wait for Mr. Ogburn to come here. He is presently over at the Camden Council right now doing the same thing. So with that, let me move to a vote. All those in favor of that amendment, so signify. And it's unanimous. Now we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. A second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Arledge. All those in favor? Well, no discussion? All those in favor, so signify. And the agenda is amended and approved. We move to approval of minutes dated 25 September. It's on the board. It was a very fine meeting. And I think the shortest on record, right, Mr. Gardner? May we have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
So made.
Mr. Connell, a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Arledge. Any discussion? Seeing there is none, we move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And the minutes are approved, and now we move to some fun stuff. We have on the agenda a proclamation for the International Alpha Delta Kappa Month. And we have our distinguished representatives here. It's great to see you. I always look forward to this. And what I suggest I do is I read the proclamation, and we'll move to a vote, and then we can present it. All right? If that's all right. The proclamation is for the International Alpha Delta Kappa Month. Whereas the Alpha Delta Kappa, an international honorary sorority for women educators, is united in the common goal of educational excellence, altruism, and worldwide understanding. And whereas the Alpha Delta Kappa was founded in 1947 and became a catalyst to promote closer professional ties among top quality educators of all professional levels, the Alpha Delta Kappa Alpha Psi chapter was chartered in Camden, South Carolina in 1986. Whereas women in education constitute a great portion of the nation's working force and are constantly striving to serve their communities and nation in educational, cultural, and charitable programs, leading to harmony, happiness, and peace among all people. And whereas major goals of the Alpha Delta Kappa International Honorary Organization for Women Educators are to give recognition to outstanding educators, to build a fellowship among educators, adding to their effectiveness in promoting excellence in education, to establish high standards of education, and to promote educational and charitable projects and activities, enriching the lives of individuals everywhere and assisting those individuals into happy, constructive, and fulfilling lives. And whereas Alpha Delta Kappa provides scholarships for educational study, therefore, we, the County Council, proclaim the month of October Alpha Delta Kappa Month in Kershaw County and honor those members of the Alpha Psi chapter on their very many, I added that, contributions to our community and to our children, adopted in regular session. May we have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
And from Mr. Gardner, any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to say to the sorority and especially to the special 2 young ladies that sit in the front row, thank you for your everlasting willingness to just make Kershaw County a better place for all people. I say that very sincerely. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other comments? I can only say amen to that, Mr. Tucker, and since we're in a church here, in a pew.
You're not going to let me live that down.
Thank you very much.
He was paid to say that. No, I'm kidding.
Pass around a collection in a moment. Well,
Mr. Chairman.
yeah, Mr. Gardner.
Just not only for your many years while you were in the education profession, but also for the many years after you retired from that, that you continue to work with this and promote education.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Amen.
My wife used to say that behind every successful man there was an astonished mother-in-law. But there were two very successful men that I revere and honor every day of my life, Fred and Bobby. And these two young ladies were, I think, the heart and the soul, if not the brains of the whole outfit.
That's right.
So glad you're here. And I'm delighted to put this to a vote if there's no other comments. Seeing there are none, we move to a vote. Let all those people in favor say amen, Mr.
Amen.
Mr. Tucker. Thank you. That makes it even more official.
Yes, sir.
And it's adopted. And may I ask y'all to come forward and maybe we'll get a picture with Jim Tatum. Would you help us out with a picture? You got any film?
Bill Rozier might have one of them tomorrow.
He said somebody gives me a camera.
We don't use that anymore.
Standing.
Darn right. I ain't looking taller than y'all. I was 2 inches taller than Don.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
All right, now we move into the next item, which is a series of resolutions. Item number 1 is tab C. It'll be up on the screen shortly. A resolution requesting the South Carolina Department of Transportation to post a no-through truck sign on Cedar Drive. And it's placed on the agenda by Vice Chairman Tucker. Is that it? I can't see that far.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Mr. Tucker, I defer to you to make the motion.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make the motion that we adopt this resolution to have the Cedar Drive over in Lugoff, which cuts through off of 34 and Pine Grove, to keep the trucks from cutting through there. And we need this for the DOT.
Very good. And we have a second?
Second.
All right. I think Mr. Arledge, any discussion there? Sammy, take us through that.
Yes, sir. There were some neighbors there. It's of course, if you know Cedar Drive, it's just a residential area there. I know the sheriff knows exactly what I'm talking about. And lately, what's been happening, a lot of the big trucks have been coming through there, cutting back over. And so they want them to go down to Pine Grove because it ends out in the 34 as well. And so they came to us to see if we could do any type of signs. And our Representative Lori Funderburg asked that if the council will adopt this and send this resolution up, that she will follow up to get the state to put the signs on because it's a state road. So
Absolutely.
Just trying to do our part to make sure that we protect our children and neighborhoods as best as possible.
It's only a couple 100 meters, but it's a busy little place right there.
Yes,
It's
sir.
getting worse with the trucks cutting
Right,
through.
and the cars can still go through. This is just to take the big trucks off the road.
Yeah. Other discussion? How can we help it along if we pass this? Maybe we can get a copy over to SC DOT and so on and so
Yes,
forth.
sir. If we forward one to our delegation and forward one to SCDOT, and then they will pick it up from there.
Yeah, excellent. Any other discussion? Seeing there is none, we move quickly to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous, and it's passed, and I'll be happy to sign that.
Thank you, Chairman.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution approving a law enforcement assistance support agreement with the Camden Police Department and Kershaw County Sheriff's Office at tab D. I turn to Mr. Carpenter to take us through this one.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, the Kershaw County Sheriff's Office and Camden Police Department have signed a mutual aid agreement. State law requires that the governing body of a county must authorize and approve such agreements. You have in front of you, therefore, the necessary paperwork to finalize this agreement.
To be clear, this is a continuation or a new?
I believe it is a continuation. The sheriff is here. He can answer any specific
I think
details.
I voted on this before. Very good. Can we have a motion to approve, and then we can discuss?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Tucker, a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Connell. Now, let's go to discussion, please.
Point of order, though, just want to make sure we're not going out of order. You had put Mr. Ogburn, which he's not here, so we're just going to skip over that and go down until we finish up.
I put it down on the new business item under.
But it's your first item underneath new business.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Tucker, lead us off on this, if you have any comments.
I do not, excuse me.
Yeah. Specifically, Vic, what does this lead us to provide?
Well, this allows the sheriff to use resources to support the city of Camden, their law enforcement activities, and it also allows them to use resources to support the sheriff's office and his activities. You normally see that in drug task force, gang task force, things like that cross jurisdictional boundaries.
Yeah. And the sheriff, of course, has agreed to this. Has the city of Camden agreed to it already, or is they waiting for us?
They've already signed it. Okay,
so we're already in the process.
Mr. Chair, and may I add, please, we've got a lot of these intergovernment agreements with different agencies throughout the state of South Carolina with the Sheriff's Department already. So these have always been very advantageous for us to work with the other groups or organizations.
Absolutely. Others? Mr. Connell, Ben, please, go ahead.
Just point of order. So we had a motion and a second. Are we in discussion now, or I don't?
We're in discussion.
We are, okay. I just want to make sure, yeah, it makes complete sense to me. We already have relationships like this with other life safety organizations in the county, including the Lugoff Fire District.
Very good. Other comments? All right, and it can be approved on this vote. So with all those in favor, so signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous and it's approved, and I'll be happy to sign that as well. We move now to a series of ordinances, one of which has been dropped. And the first and only ordinance in this category is the second reading of the ordinance setting the millage rate for Kershaw County for the fiscal year. And it's at tab E, and it shows very usefully last year and the year going forward. Mr. Carpenter, can you open this up, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of council, you have before you tonight for second reading the millage ordinance. As you recall, the South Carolina Constitution requires that upon approving a budget, that the auditor would set a millage that must then be verified and approved by the county council. The auditor has determined the millage necessary to generate the funds for the budget is the same millage as last year. Therefore, there is no millage increase presented to the council.
Very good. Can we have a motion to approve on the second, the reading, please?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
And we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Only that there is no tax increase. That's the headline again. And with that, it also means that we've achieved a heck of a lot this past year, and going forward, I have no doubt will continue. The challenges next year will be, I think, more severe, but we have our administrator to thank to guiding us through this. In a year in which we won the banner on the front of this desk here, for All-America County, and many of you participated in that, and all of us cheered it on. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. With that, we move to a vote. All those in favor, so signify. And it passes unanimously on the second reading. I think we go forward to a public hearing and a third reading.
Yes, sir.
And that'll be the next time, or do we have to delay?
Yeah, that'll be the next time.
Okay, very good. Item number 2 is deleted by Mr. Bozard and unanimously approved to be slipped to the next meeting. I move now to new business, making note that Mr. Ogburn's not here yet. So without any objection, I think we move to item of discussion, a recommended solution for the council's consideration concerning the sheriff's vehicle. It's at tab F, and is it on the board? It is. Okay, very good. I believe this is Mr. Arledge as a sponsor, or are we going to, is that correct, Mr. Arledge? You want to make the first motion?
Yes, sir. be happy to. I'd like to make a motion that we take the sheriff and our administrator's recommendation on purchasing the 3 automobiles from the sheriff's department from his current budget, and then the remaining approximately $43,000 to equip with the vehicles will be a line item transfer.
Okay. And of course, there'll be a hearty discussion on that. A second, please.
Second.
Second from Mr. Tucker. You want to lead on the discussion, or do you want to go through the details on the budget with Vic?
Well, I defer to Mr. Carpenter here.
All right, thank you. Vic, can you take us through this thing?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman, members of council. As you recall, the sheriff had come and presented to council his concerns about the state of his vehicles. The county, in setting his budget, had made some hard decisions which did not allow us to purchase all the vehicles he felt he needed. He did share with you his feelings that that was something that we needed to try to work through. The sheriff went and looking in his budget, he has found approximately the funds necessary to purchase the 3 vehicles from his drug forfeiture seizure accounts, making some decisions on how he would spend that money. And then the county, what I have, though we didn't have enough money to buy and purchase 3 vehicles, we did have enough money that was excess in one of our capital accounts that we could transfer within the capital budget to equip the vehicles, so stripe them, light bars, radios, laptop computers, etc. So with the sheriff finding money in his budget, I found money in our budget. It does not necessitate taking any funds away from any of our already approved projects. Again, this was an excess in one of the line items. We had just enough for this. So my recommendation to council is that you authorize us to complete this transaction.
Very good. Discussion. Mr. Gardner.
What's a dollar figure? I don't see a dollar figure in mind.
The county's is roughly $14,000 a vehicle, so about $42,000 to equip all 3 vehicles. And the cost of the 3 sheriff's vehicles are roughly $100-some thousand for the 3 vehicles.
All right. Other discussion? Mr. Tucker.
I just wanted to check with the sheriff right quick. This is not going to, I think there was something you did in your budget to move around some stuff, fingerprint machine, but you have no qualms or any problems with that. I'm just making sure where you will need that before December 31st. Priority? Okay. Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking through the details here. There's language in here about a grant. Is that the source for the sheriff's money or what?
No, sir, that's a totally different issue, the grant. That's the next
Okay,
item.
that's a different one. Okay. Yes, went too far in my stuff
Yes,
here.
sir.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
If I may. And, you know, the last discussion I had with you, Sheriff, it was reference to that you were already had contact or resources to purchase these vehicles because they're not available through Ford. You still have that where you can readily get them and get them on the road? But I know it was a shortage of just police vehicles, period, from Ford and Chevrolet, GM, that, you know, there's just not a lot of availability out there right now. Okay.
Other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, please, sir.
I can defer to you, Mr. Arlen.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, I understand from staff that it's still, in everybody's view, kind of a non-emergent situation, but the sheriff really has shown that it's a priority by culling through his budget. And I can support this. We can equip the vehicles. Sheriff's shown it's a real priority by finding the funds in his own budget. And I guess it's a technology that can wait for next year. And another request at that point is to consider the fingerprint machine or new devices you might need.
Others?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Arledge.
Sheriff, did you decide to purchase the Dodges or the Explorers? Explorers, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's had enough of dodging Dodgers.
I had enough of them. Absolutely. Others? Couple of points. Mr. Administrator, does this hurt our ability to accumulate other found money to get you your deputy for grant writing and other purposes?
No, sir, this is from a capital line item, so this is money that council had set aside to spend on capital items. we just ended up with about $56,000 available. If this is $43,000, so it kind of worked out well.
Oh, good for you. And I see our CFO back there. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
And she found it.
She found it. I have some trouble at my house too. Which you, and then the second thing is we've had the honor of having the best sheriff in South Carolina. And I say that with a sense of pride and recognition of what a man of competence and professionalism is. And he has been resolute and stalwart in arguing for these things. And he's done it in a gentlemanly fashion that's come to characterize my understanding of his heart and soul. Sheriff, thank you for being persistent. We'll eventually do the right thing after we've exhausted all other options. But with that comment, I think this may be the last time we see our sheriff asking for more money. You don't need to answer that.
I don't think so.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. Well, I'm just delighted we got the best sheriff and the best sheriff's department in the dadgum United States of America, and it's important they be well equipped. With that, we move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous. Gentlemen, thank you for your comments. We move to the next item, and again, it's a sheriff's item number 2, tab G. I got ahead of myself on a grant. Can you introduce the topic, Mr. Carpenter?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of council, the Sheriff's Office has been awarded a grant of approximately $71,383. This is in accordance with the Federal Highway Safety Act. These are federal funds that are administered through the Office of Highway Safety and Justice Programs with the South Carolina Department of Public Safety. The sheriff can certainly explain to you any of the nuances of the grant, but this is a grant. It does not require any match from the county.
Very good. Can we have a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Tucker, a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Arledge. Discussion.
Restrictions as far as what this can be used on, Sheriff.
Sheriff, could you come up? I think people may have a few questions.
Thank you.
This is a continuation of an existing grant that was approved by council last year. The initial grant was for a vehicle plus salary, all the other things that go along with the deputy. We already have the vehicle, so this is just for salary, benefits, and fuel, and all the non-vehicle things.
That's good news. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Please,
Hey,
Mr.
Sheriff,
Connell.
whenever I hear federal, I think of like the Davis-Bacon Act and other strings that are attached. Just remind me, I know we talked about it last year, but does this one have any strings that continue after the grant expires?
Well, when the initial grant was proposed, which you all approved, part of the language was that when the grant expires, the county will pick up that position. But I won't be here to deal with that, so my successor can do that.
Okay.
But you all already agreed to it.
Other comments?
What is this deputy doing? Is he on the road or what?
Traffic enforcement.
Traffic
This is a traffic enforcement grant. And it's due to our high fatality rate in this county.
Yeah.
State.
Yes.
The inevitable question is what happens when the grant runs out?
You all pick up the tab.
Been there, done that.
We'll cross that bridge at a later date, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
With a different sheriff.
With a different sheriff.
Well, we're not voting today to pick up the tab when the grant ends. The grant expends itself through one fiscal year or
I
what?
think normally it has to be renewed annually, but I think it has been a 3-year grant. It's what it usually is. So there'll be another year, I believe.
Okay.
Very good. Okay. Very good. And it covers training as well and all?
Everything, this grant covers everything but the purchase and equipment of a vehicle.
Okay, guys. All right. Any further discussion? Nope, looks good. And thank you, Sheriff. I'm ready to move to a vote. And with that, all those in favor so signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous, and the grant is approved. And we move now to the next item, item number 3, under new business. And I just texted Darrell Ogburn, bid approval for yard waste grinding service at a landfill at tab H. And it's up on the screen. Vic, would you take us through?
Mr. Chairman, members of council, Kershaw County for a number of years has had a contract with a private vendor to come in and grind our yard waste. This is the contract has gone out for bid. As it does, we received the bids in. The low bid council's being asked to approve the low bid, which is the two bids we received, and the low bid is Farmers Mulch and Rock Incorporated at $574 per machine hour.
Very good, thank you. Can we have a motion to approve the recommendation of staff?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Tucker, a second?
Second.
From Mr. Connell. Thank you, Ben. Any comments?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Carpenter, how this compares to what we've been paying?
Comparable.
Okay.
It's roughly the same. It's in the, one of the things that we're going to be doing this year now that we've taken care of some bigger fish is looking at this thing. If we have a better way, perhaps it makes more sense for us to purchase equipment ourselves.
Well, that's my next
Problem
question.
is you know, when you're grinding landfill waste, you're very much at the mercy of whatever the contractors bring in.
Right.
And so it's not always as simple as chipping it up. It's not the little thing you see the guy hauling around behind his truck that he throws branches in. You know, these are generally tub grinders. $750,000 is what they can cost. So you know, we've got to look and do the numbers to see if the payoff is there. If it's not, you know, if it's a 15-year payoff, then it's probably cheaper just to keep hiring someone to come in. Generally speaking, we use them for about 80 hours a year, but we've been starting to accumulate, and we're not able to go through the entire with the amount. So we'll be looking at the quality, and we'll be looking at whether there are other ways we can handle it ourselves. But at this point, we don't have the equipment, so this is our best solution.
And I appreciate you, because that was my next question, is wherever we could do it. Appreciate you going and speaking about that and willing to look into it. But my next question is, as we grind now, does that material belongs to us or the person that's providing the service?
Belongs to us.
All right.
But because it's not, I mean, it's a mixture of trash bags, and it's a mixture of treated lumber and limbs and leaves and grass
We can't
clippings.
sell it?
No. You know, generally speaking, counties that do this, some of them will have a free mulch kind of a thing, and the problem with that is, of course, it's free, so you kind of get what you pay for.
Right.
The quality of the stuff is, we don't grind it. If you're going to be selling it, you would have to screen it. You would have to have probably 2 trommel screens, they call them, to go through in order to get it to a quality and a size. Plus, you'd have to get rid of all the bags and all the garbage, the plastic bottles, the Coke cans, you know, baby diapers that are thrown in there. So not to mention the deer guts. And
That's Ben's family.
Yeah. So right now, most of pretty much.
That's my son only.
It goes to the landfill, but we do own it.
Thank you.
Mr. Bozard, sir.
Mr. Carpenter, just doing some fast figuring here in my head on this. Why did we select Farmers Mulch and Rock?
Why do we select them? A couple reasons. First of all, because their per hour rate is less than the Lee County, $600 versus $574 per hour. That was the primary reason for it.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me about these last 2 lines there on both of them. 45,200 and 45,100 with 44,006, and then what are we looking at in that last figure over there, 29,336 cubic yards?
That's how much we can get for the same dollar amount. So with the first one that we're recommending, we can get 35,000 cubic yards ground up. With the second one, we can get 29,000 cubic yards ground up. So we'll get a lot more grinding done for the same money with the first one. This is why we're going with them. We're recommending going with them.
Thank you.
If you look at it, what the grounding rate is, you got 450 to 500 compared to 400. And that's where the difference comes. The machine is not producing as much.
It's just counterintuitive to me. North Carolina can beat Lee County on this cost. That's just amazing. Well, thank you for that comparison. Other discussion? Okay. I think we're ready to move to a vote. The motion being to approve the staff recommendation for Farmers Mulch and Rock. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimously approved. And with that, we still don't have Mr. Ogburn here. I think we can continue on and just slip out of protocol for a while and move on to council briefings, and we'll start with Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Bell's left. I was going to thank him for coming, but I guess. Good day. Okay. Well, I do want to say that remember, starting yesterday is absentee voting time. So I encourage everybody to get out and vote. Take someone with you. Just stay after it, because you never know what changes you can make by getting yourself excited and others in the community throughout the county, state, and country. So please, everyone, exercise your right that so many has fought for. Go vote. That concludes my report.
Mr. Gardner.
Just a question, are we live streaming tonight?
Yes, sir.
Where the
good.
cameras at?
I'm not telling you.
Thank you, Mr. Danny.
I don't want to know, but I just think that's
Smile,
very
Tom.
good.
You on TV.
Okay, very good. That's all I have.
All right, Mr. Bozard.
Thank you very much. I watched with great interest the procedure that they went through to elect our associate to the Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh. But I got to say that it was with great sadness that I saw the despicable manner that they handled everything up there. I'm saying that to say this. I just hope that we in Kershaw County never get to that low, that we've got to do some things like that and keep everything up on board and legal and looking each other in the face. Thank you.
Mr. Connell.
No report tonight.
All right, very good. And Mr. Arledge.
I'd like to thank the administration and the other departments that were involved in the Touch-A-Truck. I understand that that a very successful event. And yeah, Sean, y'all did a great job, and I got really good feedback. It's nice when your phone rings and it's good news on the other end. But hats off to you. You did a great job. Thank you.
Yeah, amen. All right, with that, I'll go to my briefs real quick. First of all, Touch-A-Truck. Thank you, sir. Thank you to our director of the chamber, ma'am. You just keep it coming, bring the new businesses in, small and large. Thank you very much, and we can't do it without you. Thank you. I'm looking for the administrator to give us a short briefing on preparations for this hurricane coming in with the wet, super saturated soil and damage already to lines and trees. It looks like less than the last one, but there's always one that might sneak up on us to include tornadic behavior. I'm going to be out of town tomorrow, and Mr. Tucker, I'd ask you to help me out when I'm gone. I'll be back sometime Thursday if the weather will permit me to get back.
I got you back, Chairman.
I know you do. I would want to just say one thing, and it'd be hard to ignore the fact that I'm military and that we have friends of ours who are in the military. Your brother, Ben, we even have a submariner somewhere in the room and an Air Force person. But we're in the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. And in 1918, this day, Sergeant York went out and killed 25 Germans all by himself and captured 104. And we also lose sight of the fact that Kershaw County had a Congressional Medal of Honor winner, John C. Villapig, whose relative went on to coach the first and then the second state champion football team, undefeated, in Camden. The Villapig family was amazing in this county for about 200 years. And Corporal John C. Villapig got the Congressional Medal of Honor on the 15th of October. I just want you to remind yourselves of the nature of we are. You heard Mr. Bozard talk about civility, but don't get a Kershaw County person mad. But we are civil and godly people, but we're also patriotic Americans. And I just think you ought to remember who we were just a short of 100 years ago, and the nature of people that came out of this body of people here in Kershaw County. You should be extremely proud and remember that. With that, we go to you, Mr. Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, a few items for you tonight. First, just a briefing update on the storm status. I was just checking a little bit ago. The storm is up to a Category 3 hurricane now. They expect it to continue to strengthen. It's already at 120 miles an hour with gusts to 150. They feel before it comes ashore tomorrow in Florida, it'll be even stronger. Still a Category 3, but a strong Category 3. It'll move quickly once it comes ashore, but right now the track of the storm is a tropical storm will go through Kershaw County, where as they have it predicted now. The last I saw was through Liberty Hill. So the northeast quadrant of the storm is where you have the worst potential for tornadoes, though it's only a marginal risk. Luckily and thankfully, there is that risk greater and elevated in that quadrant. Rainfall less than was predicted from the last storm, but still 4 to 8 inches now. They've raised it from 2 to 4 to 4 to 8. So that's still a bunch of rain, probably more in the western part of the county this time than the eastern part. So this time we would perhaps get more over in the Elgin area than we would over in the Bethune area. Winds will probably be a little stronger because it will still be, it appears, a tropical storm when it hits South Carolina and goes through Kershaw. So our winds sustained, maybe 25 to 35 sustained, gusts to 50. Last time they said 35, but we got lucky to get out of 20. So there could be a little stronger wind. And as you indicated, there are weakened trees out there. We experienced last week some collateral damage from the storm when the power over the Baptist church, something went on the pole that was on the power pole, and the government center lost its power as something that had just been slowly collapsing from the Hurricane Florence when it affected us, and 2 weeks later it finally gave way and we had no power for a couple hours here. So there is collateral damage perhaps from that. So there is an anticipation that some trees will come down. Duke is saying there will be sustained power outages in parts of its service area. So they started releasing water last night. If you notice the river, it was up this morning. They'll do the great job they always do managing their water through the system. So that shouldn't be an issue for us to worry about. So we're really just going to have to worry about trees and limbs, flying trash can lids. The school district, the county will make calls tomorrow as far as what our operating hours will be. It would not surprise me if everyone's closed on Thursday when the storm tracks through, and then we'll take Friday by ear and see how it happens. So that's the update. At this point, we are not opening the EOC. We'll make that call tomorrow if it looks like we need to, but we don't see that we need to. The state has not declared a state of emergency. This will be a big storm, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a disaster. We'll be able to manage it. We're South Carolina. We can handle these kinds of things. So we're not anticipating, but again, we are monitoring. We will change it as needed and as necessary. But you can rest assured that your emergency services personnel are on duty and on the job. Speaking of that, you see the back of the room, you got several fine-looking men. They represent Kershaw County, participated in the state efforts after Hurricane Florence hit. We sent ambulance crews to Horry County. You see some pictures up there. They were the crews that worked hard and did their job, did not get sent home for not doing their job like some others did. So we're proud of the job they did. Appreciate, gentlemen, what you did in representing us. They did it. We still maintain full coverage with our own citizens here, so there was no loss of coverage for us. They took it upon themselves to go and help out fellow citizens in this state. They also represented the county yesterday at the services for the slain fallen officer in Florence as well. So, gentlemen, thank you for what you do and what you did representing us in Kershaw County.
Mr. Carpenter, just a quick question in reference to that. Mr. Arledge want to know, do you recruit these guys from the offensive line?
You haven't seen my starting line over the jail, okay?
The rumor is one of them played in the Clemson game last week. Yeah.
Are y'all wearing your dress uniform or no? Is that your?
They're in garnet and black.
Okay, that's right. All right. Yarcy, one of the things we've done, since they're here, we have gone to uniforms for our EMS as we try to further professionalize what we do and how we do it. So we now have a full dress uniform for our EMS as well as working uniforms as well.
Right.
So you see them in it tonight as well.
Yes, look sharp.
They're wearing uniforms. Going into Touch a Truck, of course Shane is here. Great event, second year we did it in conjunction with the Junior Civic League and then the Parks and Recreation Department for Kershaw County. We did it out at the river parcel. This has allowed us to expand the amount of space we had. And one of the things we did is we had a person with a clicker. As each car came in, we counted every head in the car. Over 1,800 people came through the gate and were clicked for this event. Last year, the estimate was 350. So that shows you the growth in the program from one year to the next. You see the bright blue skies and the shiny green grass. It was a great event. A lot of a lot of worn out little kids. These are all pictures that were taken by Bill Rozier. Thank you, Bill, for sharing them with us. He was out there. One of the neatest you'll see was that this year we were able to actually let kids get into the cabs and actually dig in the dirt. You see our guys with the kids. The faces on these kids, and they actually got to move the hydraulics, made it all worthwhile. But the faces on the county employees was also worthwhile, just as they worked with the kids.
Looks like terror to me.
She is chilling up
so
there.
patiently. The kids just dug holes, grown-ups dug holes. It was a good day. So we were out there from 10 to 1. Again, a very large turnout, very well received by the community. It's just going to continue to grow. And again, Shane, thank you for the job that y'all did.
Wow.
The chairman committed an F-35.
Yes,
so
yes, I heard that.
He assured us that would be there.
It was a Black Hawk or something.
Yeah, Mr. Bozard is going to have an F-16 land out there.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Members of council, if you're not proud of the kind of people you have working for you, those two stories between EMS and
Yeah.
Parks and Recreation should make you proud of it.
Thank you.
Last thing for members of council, reminder, we have a sewer work session Tuesday at 4:30 upstairs. That's my report.
Very good. And can I see the EMS gentleman after this, please? Mr. DeBose.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. We now have the best part is coming up. As you remember, about 3.5 years ago, we were in trouble in our hospital area, and we had the leadership of our Kershaw Health District that led us through that in collaboration with this body here. We not only moved EMS over here, but we saved the Carish wing and continued uninterrupted health service. We have had the benefit of a council that we appoint that has been working very hard the last several years to keep this moving, and I think we have some interesting news. Introduce to you Darrell Ogburn. No vote is required. Please, Mr. Chairman, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the County Council. I'm here today representing the Health District of Kershaw County, the former hospital board, and I'm pleased to announce that We signed a contract last night to purchase an area located at 100 Knights Hill Road, also known as Beechwood, for the relocation and the building of a new state-of-the-art Kershaw long-term care facility. The purchase was made possible through the generosity and the dramatic reduction of the purchase price by the owner, Lucy Lindsay. Last night, the board authorized me to sign the contract, and I did, and we are purchasing that property. We will move the Kershaw long-term care unit from the hospital out to this new standalone facility. We also intend to increase the size of the nursing home from an 88-bed facility to a 132-bed facility, which will also include some more rehabilitative beds as well. The entrance of the facility will be off Highway 97. There was a piece of property that came along with this that the owner had purchased between the post office up there and the mental health facility. And she has secured a right-of-way behind the mental health facility from the state of South Carolina. So that will be our entrance. So the objections that have been raised in the past about increased traffic on Knights Hill Road won't have any effect on this, because we won't do anything with that. The nursing home will be built on that north end of the property. But we're excited about this 66 acres of land that we bought here in Kershaw County with a 10,000 square foot home as well. Kershaw County deserves a first-class retirement community like this. It will be transformative for this community, I do believe. I want to thank Ms. Lindsay one more time for her generosity in making this happen. I also want to thank two local men here who worked hard with us to answer the questions that we might have and to work us through this, and that is Austin Shaheen with Shaheen, Hancock, and Godwin, and Ed Royal with the Savage Law Firm. They helped us make some important decisions as we move forward. Look forward to working with the City of Camden. I just left the City of Camden meeting and told them the same thing. And we're excited about this. Look forward to working with this county council to make this project happen. We will get started hopefully by next summer. The process with DHEC is a cumbersome long-term deal to get a CON to move our beds and to also increase our beds. But we're hopeful that we can start turning some dirt by next summer and have it completed within 18 months. We have a wonderful partner now that's managing our hospital in White Oak Manor. They've done a wonderful job of coming in and getting their hands on the nursing home. But it is just old, and it is not efficient, and we're excited about a new state-of-the-art facility. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, sir, and I thank your board for serving so unselfishly through the turbulent times of the last few years. And this board here of the council is proud of you, sir, and the work, the unselfish work you do, and the way you've embraced Vision 2030, explicitly embracing a larger view of the health of all our citizens at every age. And this is wonderful. I now turn it over to council for questions. Please.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Arledge, please.
Thank you, Darrell. We appreciate it, everything y'all do.
Thank you.
Will it remain Kershaw?
I assume
think
it will.
so?
I
Okay.
don't believe we would change that name.
Zoning issues, are you going to have to go through?
I think we'll have to go through a zoning issue, but it's just a slight tweak with the zone. I would hope that we wouldn't have a problem with that with the county, with the city, but we'll get it done right. And we hopefully can answer any questions that the folks that have objected to it earlier will have. This is not going to be a high-density location. It's not going to be 75 homes or whatever. Right. It's going to be the nursing home.
And the structure on it itself, are you going to be able to incorporate it in like a dining facility or something for the residents? We
will have the state-of-the-art. We visited one that White Oak had built in Spartanburg. They opened it about a year ago. And you walk in there and you would never guess it is a nursing home. It is a beautiful facility with all the bells and whistles. And we're going to have one like that.
We're proud of it.
We're excited about it. Well, I want to thank you folks for doing your due diligence and putting together a board that is very talented. And we work very, very well together. You all have done a good job of vetting the candidates and sending us good people over there, with the exception of me. But we do have a very good board, and I want to thank you. We just lost Karen Eckford, who decided to 6 years was enough for her, and, but she was a very talented leader, and we will miss her. But you all have done a great job putting together a board.
Yeah. Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Ogren.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, and not just thank you, but thank that board that you serve with, because you're right, a lot of talented, smart people, and the thing that I've noticed over the years is that you guys have really worked very well together in getting the problems solved. I think you've had the hardest task out of any of the boards that or the members that we send over there, and you've done an excellent job with getting the job done. So I say kudos and thanks to you. My question is, though, what's your projection completion date?
Probably, if we get started next year, we can push it a little faster, but it's probably going to be let's see, 19. It's probably going to 2020.
Okay.
2020
is a good year.
And we're gonna do it and do it right.
Yes, sir.
I assure you, we're going to do it right. We haven't even talked about financing. We've got some money that we could use if we needed to, but we can also bond for it, and we'll take a look at what the best way to do it is. We've got plenty of time to do that. The important thing now is to get the CON application submitted. Right. Because the clock starts running then, and some timetables you have to follow. We've hired a person to do that for us. He's put everything together, just left the blanks in the place to put where the nursing home is going to be.
Okay.
So we will move as fast as we possibly can to make it happen.
Well, thank you and congratulations. Yes.
Well, thank you. We felt like we've been drinking water out of a fire hose for the past number of years, and things are beginning to settle down. Our new executive director is doing a good job. Well, she's been with us now for 2 years, but she's doing a good job, and we've integrated ourselves, and we kind of know where our role is and what we're doing. And we were excited recently to be able to help out the community medical clinic with expanding the project they did at North Central in regard to mental health coverage to the other 2 high schools. And,
thank you for that.
I'm deviating from the subject, Mr. Chairman, but I did want to mention that. We were able to give them $68,000 to help them expand that program that they started up at North Central.
Excellent program.
We got a lot of good things going on.
Just again, thank you for your time. Most people don't realize how much time and effort it takes to make something like this happen, and I know it wasn't just 2 weeks ago that you started this. So I know the commitment that it takes for all of your board, that the time you put in to do all your due diligence to do everything there is you can't count those hours hardly. So we thoroughly appreciate everything that y'all have done.
I was dumb enough to accept another year as chairman last night, so you may want to get some mental health from me. But it's a joy to be able to do this for my community, and I'm honored to be part of the board, and I'm certainly honored to be chairman. We actually do it for the $50 a month we get.
Yeah.
That high pay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Connell.
Ben.
Evening, Jerry. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Quick question. Did you say that the purchase includes an existing residence?
A 10,000 square foot house on that property.
And how would you incorporate that, or are there any plans?
We don't know. We haven't even talked about that. I've been through it. It's in reasonably good shape. The lady that owned the place has kept the air conditioning and heating running in it constantly. So there's no mold issues that we saw in there. But I don't know when the house was built, but it is a beautiful old antebellum home. You can drive in there and see it.
Just a quick question on the sale. Are there any conditions on the sale that the house has to be owned by the health district, or?
No. We don't have, the only restrictions I'm doing this from memory now. The only restrictions we have is that we will put a 50-foot buffer around the edge of it, which we would have done regardless of that, of a restriction. But she wants to protect the neighborhood and make sure we've got a setback, a reasonable setback, and we don't have any problems with that. She mentions that she likes the trees, and that we should be encouraged not to remove any more trees than we need to, and that's right down my alley. I'm a tree person too. So there are not any big problems. The document is available. It'll be put up on our website. You can look at it anytime you want to, and that's the one we're working toward. Nobody curious about how much we paid for it?
How bad did it hurt?
$500,000.
No, it was nothing.
60 acres.
That's not bad at all.
In the city of Camden.
Very generous
And you could
by
potentially-
Miss
You
Lucy.
Stole it.
You could potentially remarket the house.
She generated.
I tried to scratch out the
Yeah.
health district and put in Darrell Ogren. But it is a very generous thing she has done
Very generous.
for this community. And I intend to make sure everybody knows how generous that lady has been. I think she was excited. Austin and Ed had the dialogue with her. I didn't talk to her. I just talked through them. But I think she was excited about what we were going to do and what it can mean to this community. And I think that's where her touched her heart, I believe.
Thank you.
So
I'll conclude with a couple of comments.
Yes,
One
sir.
of those trees contributed for me never riding again. I rode my polo pony in one of those trees, and it knocked me out, and I never rode a horse since. You can cut that one down. Media is here tonight. I know that Jimmy and Bill would probably like to chat with you after, if you don't mind hanging out.
Don't mind at all.
Jim, I think, yeah. I'd like to reiterate the role of Karen Eckford, who's retiring. What a wonderful lady, and it was hard fought. She was my counterpart as we went forward to quote, save that hospital, and you gentlemen helped us do that. And I would tell you, we shall miss her, and let's thank her in absentia, and we thank you in person. The next thing is this organization is a county organization that was founded by the wisdom of previous leaders in this county under a state ordinance, and the county council oversees them through the appointment of board members. And I just can't tell you enough how important it is that we recognize the quality of the people, and we know that they operate without having to refer to us on several million of dollars every month that we don't see, but they handle with competence on behalf of our county. So, sir, thank you. The second issue has to do with the fact that this was a county function in collaboration with the city of Camden, the county seat. And for those who'd like to write articles and stuff like that and complain about city versus county, they should see this in operation. And thank you, Darrell, for putting that into action. And the last piece is, it's nice to talk about, but we're now into execution. When do you think we as a county council should hear from you again on this?
Anytime. I'll come anytime you want me to.
No, but when do you think we should?
I can keep you updated.
Probably when the CON goes in, somewhere in there.
Most likely. And that process, I don't know why it takes so long.
Oh,
you know, we already have our license for 88 beds. Why do you have to go rebuild the whole car again? But that's the way the system works, and we'll be patient, and we'll wait through it and work through it. But if possible, and we don't violate any regulations, I would anticipate maybe we could do some site work before they issue the CON. Don't know that we can, but if there's any way to wedge in there and do some of that, we will.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. With that, sir, thank you, and have a great evening. If you don't mind hanging out after. That concludes our agenda. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Arledge, a second from Mr. Tucker. Any discussion? Gentlemen, thank you. It's been a momentous evening, transformational. With that, let's move to a vote. All those in favor that we adjourn signify by raising your hand. Have a great evening. We adjourn, and be safe in this hurricane.